Tutina. Hello. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, Adeswa.
Hello. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I hope the line is on. I'm not home, so where I am is a bit wavy.
Yeah,
All right.
it's very clear. You're coming across very clear.
So let me, please just give me 2 minutes to call in more people before we start off.
All right, that's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So tonight we are going to discuss about autism nutrition under the platform of Oasis, and this is in recognition of autism awareness campaign, where we continue to talk about autism. Yes, recently it is gaining a lot of attention, but that is also because the rate at which is increasing is alarming. It's alarming because right now, about 10 years ago, it happens to 1 out of 1,000, 10,000 children. But today it's happening to 1 out of 36 children. And that is only where it is recorded. It might be happening in a higher rate in other clans where there might not be a lot of data. So that is why we keep talking about it. If it has happened to you or your loved ones, we look at how it can be mitigated. So
Good evening, everyone. So sorry for the a bit delay.
Good evening, ma.
Good evening. How are you? Thank you for joining us.
Welcome,
As
ma.
we have been saying, we've been talking about autism. The other time we have we have a talk around neurodiversity. So we understand that it's a very big spectrum in which there are different conditions and it needs individual attention. So we've had professionals come in to discuss different conditions, different phases of autism. Some are quite hidden, that is almost not perceptive. And if we don't understand it, it makes it difficult to empathize or to include such individuals, because we now focus on the character or the behavior instead of supporting. So that's why, as we have been discussing different ways, tonight we have with us a specialist in nutrition, and also she is able to give us insights on how to be able to what kind of nutrients would help to manage better, not to cure, but to help manage better. So once again, I just want to welcome everyone. We have new people on behalf of our guests with us tonight. I can see Dr. Tina Obi. Thank you for joining. You're welcome. This is Essence Oasis, and we are an organization that supports and help families with neurodivergent condition. Most of the things we do is create awareness, ask professionals to do workshop with parents, families, and that's one of the things we are doing tonight. We are having our guest Ijoma with us. She's a professional. She's a qualified and certified nutritionist. She'll be telling us more about herself and what she does. But her work here tonight is to enlighten us on how to eat better, or if we have a child in that condition, or it could be an adult as well, how can you be able to adjust your nutrition, and it will be able to help minimize the triggers that can affect us. So I'm going to be calling on her, and she will first of all tell us more about herself. Thank you once again for joining. And please, I recognize each and every one of us. I can see Tumpale there. I see Omobola and Joy and Barakat, Amen, Julie, Joyful, Joyous, Blessings, Chinedu Brown, Revelation Academy. Thank you all for joining. Please share and encourage more people to join, because no knowledge is lost. I'm going to be calling on Ijema Ugu to come on board. Thank you so much, Ijema, for honoring us tonight. I know you're a very busy woman. We are glad to have you on this platform. Over to you, ma'am. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, Adesua. I'd like to apologize. I don't know if you heard something. I was prepping another audience on the YouTube channel, so I was kind of trying to get them up to what is happening. So I don't know. I think my audio was on, but I wasn't aware. So I have to apologize for that. So tonight we are here together because we share one thing in common. And that thing that we share in common is so strong that even if I was walking on the road and I just noticed a mother with a child who might have challenges, I am practically drawn to them. You know, it's like a very strong bond that holds us. It doesn't matter where we come from. It doesn't matter how we look. It doesn't matter who we are, but we feel each other. We have that kind of bond that we can actually feel the pain of the other person. And so if you're here tonight, I must commend your efforts, because it doesn't take one day, it doesn't take one night. Talk about the emotions, talk about the physical things that go into catering for them, talk about the finances, talk about the sleepless nights. In fact, I used to tell people that challenges with children on the autism spectrum is not something you can explain to somebody who is not experiencing it. There are some of the challenges you can't even, verbalize. You can't say what it is, but it's a challenge. So we know how all of us feel. So for the past 10 years, my own journey has propelled me into an area which I luckily have been in it. I started studying for food science. Then when I now realized how food plays an important role, especially in mental health, I decided to focus on food and went ahead to get myself equipped in the area of nutrition. And I must tell you that when you hear that we are what we eat, it's not just a joke or just a saying, because in these children we have seen very significant impact of nutrition in their lives. We have seen a child change from very violent and aggressive child today to a calm and calculated individual in the next day. However, just like we know them, once you see one child on the autism spectrum, you've seen only one child on the autism spectrum. So a lot of times the impact is usually not the same, but definitely when it comes to food, I must tell you, there is always something to take home. The impact is almost always there. However, it might not be the same rate or the same symptoms you see, or but there's definitely just something that will work out on it. So over the years, we have looked, we have studied, we have researched, and we found, and we keep finding, that nutrition can actually play a role, because on a very general note, autism is known to be caused by a dysregulation of immune system and an onset of inflammation. So when the immune system is dysregulated, there is an onset of inflammation. And most importantly, this dysregulation and onset of inflammation are usually situated somewhere in the guts. And in the guts, we are talking about microbial balance. So in a lot of children with autism, we have found out that very many of them have dysregulated guts, meaning that their gut microbiome are not in good balance. There's usually where we get a lot of the yeast overgrowth. We do have a lot of yeast overgrowth. In a few of them, we do have gut what we call leaky gut. That's permeability in the gut linings. In a lot of them, we do have just one form of allergy or the other. So these are some of the issues in children with autism that we find out they can actually be addressed using nutrition. Well, we call it nutrition because at the end of the day, they all kind of go around what you feed the child. But there is, I prefer to look at it as a holistic approach to health, which might not just be about nutrition. When you talk about things like heavy metal toxicity, when you talk about things like environmental impacts, those may not be directly on food, but they are still things that can actually impact them. So tonight we are talking about food and food-related interventions. So when we talk about food and food-related interventions, I know that a lot of us have heard about one way or the other, one nutrient or the other, one intervention or the other that can make our children better. I won't go to that. I will just stick to what I know, which is my field. So when we talk about nutrition, there are basically about 3 to 4 things I make parents know. Number one is trying to regulate the gut microbiome. When we regulate gut microbiome, I know that the practical way usually that people know is you give them, a lot of people talk about fiber. You give them lots of fiber, you give them lots of prebiotics. But when it comes to children with autism, things are not usually the same. The normal individual on the street could be doing stuff this way, but when it comes to children on the spectrum, they are practically different. So in terms of fiber, consuming fiber in children with autism, we don't encourage fiber consumption. We don't encourage them to take fiber. Why? Because the gut imbalance that I just mentioned at the beginning, if you give a child on the spectrum too much fiber, usually they have this, I won't call the scientific name, so I'll just be saying it on a layman's terms. Usually they have those microbes residing in the small intestine. So by the time they consume food that is not easily broken down, which fiber is a part of it, there are remnants. The remnants are now the fiber. And unfortunately for us, it is this fiber that the bad microbes can actually consume. That is what they feed on. So by the time you feed a child on the spectrum a high fiber food, what you get is a child who gets hyperactive, who starts laughing, who starts giggling with no reason. And that is because if we know the science of beer production, the science of beer production is that you extract sugar and you introduce yeast, which is a microorganism, and it will ferment the sugar and produce alcohol, methane, some other chemicals. So that, in fact, if you're giving a child on the spectrum a high fiber food, you are just producing beer in their stomach. You are just producing alcohol and other chemicals that will keep the child active and hyperactive for as long as it will take. So what we are saying here is that for our children on the spectrum, high fiber food may not be the best unless you have done some things. If you have been able to introduce things like probiotics in the past, and you are sure that your child at least has a level of balanced microbiome, you can begin to give the child what we call complex carbohydrate. So this is just one of the things we do in terms of nutrition. Why I am not going into specific nutrients is that we practice individualized nutrition. In individualized nutrition, you have to understand the peculiar needs of a person before you can recommend things. So I am not going to start recommending things for you that your child is going to take on this platform, because that is unethical. I don't know what goes inside his body. I don't know what happens, because autism nutrition is very complex. So I am going to stick to a general, recommendation. So we've talked about fiber. So in fiber, we are very careful before we offer children on the spectrum high fiber food, and which every other person might see as a very healthy way of feeding. So that is one. Another one is probiotics. Probiotics, we all know, are very wonderful, which I had even mentioned earlier. But there are forms of probiotics we do not wish to offer our children. 80% of the population, once you mention probiotic, they say, yogurt. Yogurt is wonderful. But the challenge is that a lot of parents are not aware that probiotic yogurt is made from milk. And for children on the spectrum, milk is a nutrition we approach with caution. There are several reasons for this. Number one is that the cows that produce the milk are bred with lots of hormones. So with these hormones, just like you as a mother, sometimes when you need to take medication, they say you shouldn't take it because it goes to your breast milk if you are breastfeeding or pregnant. But in the case of the cows, nobody thinks about who is going to be drinking the milk as at the time of production. So a lot of the chemicals that are used in breeding the cows eventually get into the milk. And then when the milk is consumed by these children whose chemistry is already overhauled, you get just all sorts of reactions. That is one. Another one is the case of allergy. A lot of children on the autism spectrum have a condition we refer to as leaky gut. I have mentioned it a while ago. Leaky gut is a situation where the linings of the stomach walls are permeable. They have holes in them. So when a child consumes a particular food, it goes through the walls of the stomach and gets into the bloodstream. And when it gets to the bloodstream, the body recognizes the food as an enemy. And what it does is that it begins to produce antibodies. And when it produces antibodies, these antibodies can do a lot in the body. It can even lead to extra inflammation. But the end point is that the body begins to feel like he or she is allergic to that food. So a lot of our children, because they have the leaky gut, they are allergic to milk. They are allergic to casein. Casein is the protein content of milk. And when a child is allergic to casein, when they consume casein, when the body is not breaking down the casein, together with casein and gluten, they produce what we call opioid effect. The opioid effect means that your child is acting as if they have smoked marijuana. So because of allergy.
We didn't hear clearly. The is fluctuating.
Okay.
So we get it to, it's like your child is, but we didn't hear that.
Okay, so like your child is smoking marijuana.
Okay.
Okay. So in that case, we are looking at casein as something that children on the autism spectrum should not take. There are lots of researches, but I'm going to tell you my own story. My own story is that my daughter was self-injurious. Self-injurious so badly that if she doesn't see a place to hit her head, she will jump up and land on her knees just to make sure that she's inflicting pain on her body. I know a lot of children that are self-injurious. I know a lot of children that do not hit their head, but they keep biting somewhere in their body just to make sure there's something is inflicting pain. We stopped milk. In fact, we went to doctor for 2 good years. The only advice we were given is to go and buy helmets and knee buckles and buy, like riding bicycle. We should go and buy all those things and be putting pillows around and be, the recommendations were just too many. But we took away milk from her diet, and in 2 weeks, all self-injurious behavior ended. I am particular about parents with very young children. So milk was like a killer in my home. I'm talking about my own home. So when we say, we are looking at milk as something that a lot of parents try to use as balancing the gut microbiome. So talking about how milk affects our children is like saying, if you need to use anything that has probiotic, don't opt for yogurt. Don't opt for yogurt unless you are in a clan where there are coconut yogurt on the shelf in the UK. There are coconut yogurt on the shelf in maybe other developed countries. So if you happen to come across yogurt that is not made with milk, that is good. Number one, some yogurts are pasteurized. After production, they are pasteurized to lower the level of microbial population such that the shelf life may be increased. So when you buy a pasteurized yogurt, you are not buying a probiotic. You are just buying a fermented milk. But unfortunately for us, a lot of these people do not label their yogurt as pasteurized. And that is why a lot of people feel that Greek yogurt is the real thing. So even if you're buying a yogurt that is made with another thing that is not milk, please just make sure that it is not in any way pasteurized. Now, we are trying to put milk out of gut microbiome balancing. There are supplements that are sold as probiotics. If you are maybe in the US or in the UK where the weather might be a bit cold, or you have regulated pharmacies where things are made to be kept at the good temperature, you can count on buying the tablets and giving your child. But I am going to tell you my experience in Nigeria. Before I knew how to, what was going on with my daughter, I would usually go and buy a Life Culture from the market to make yogurt. On several occasions, remember I was a food technologist. On several occasions, I will open up my Life Culture, breed it and pour in the yogurt, and in the morning, nothing happens. Nothing happens because these Life Cultures are dead already. They are dead because there is what we call environmental assault, like temperature assault. And the microbes in probiotics are basically lyophilized microorganisms. Lyophilized means that they are made to be in a state that whenever they see a conducive situation, they will revive themselves and grow. So when products arrive Nigerian ports, for instance, the heat has probably revived the microbes, and before they get to the shops, they are probably dead. So by the time you are buying a probiotic that says 500 billion CFU means coliform forming units. By the time you take it to your house, you might be having nothing, or you have maybe 200 or 2 billion. So usually it is not an assured way of balancing microbiome. So what I teach parents is to breed these microorganisms inside your own kitchen. We have what we call sauerkraut. It's an old, ancient method that old people were using to keep themselves healthy. Sauerkraut is nothing big. It is just the art of bringing vegetables, squeezing out the sugar part, which was what I explained before, squeezing out the sugar part and putting it aside to allow the natural microbes that were present in that vegetable to consume the sugar and grow. We call them proliferate because they don't grow in 1, 2, 3. They grow in coliform forming units. So if by the time you are bringing out cabbage and it has like 200 coliform forming units, by the time you make your sauerkraut, you'll be having like 500 billion coliform forming units, such that by the time that sauerkraut is ready, with each spoonful that your child takes, you are having almost 500 billion coliform forming units of healthy probiotics. I understand we have a lot of challenges doing this in Nigeria because of the hot weather. Most times we see a small layer of white mold on it. But normally, if this mold is not smelling, the white mold is something that is usually accompanying the production of acetic acid. So fermentation produces this kind of mold. So sometimes if your mold is not smelling, if the mold on your sauerkraut is not smelling, then it is safe to consume. Your sauerkraut is safe to consume. I understand temperature varies the period of production. In Nigeria, I could make my sauerkraut in 2 weeks. But if you are in the UK, it might take you 4 weeks to get your sauerkraut to ferment. But that is like about it. So by the time you harvest your sauerkraut, if you give your child a spoonful of the sauerkraut like every first thing every morning, you won't believe the kind of good you are doing to the body of that child. The child gets calmer, the child gets more focused. That is because the microbes in the human body are responsible for synthesizing a lot of vitamins, especially the B vitamins. And if we know, we should know that the B vitamins are the most important vitamins for mental health. So when a child is having a lot of microbial loading, like the good microbial load in their body, these microbes are not just helping in food processing, they are also helping in synthesis of vital nutrients in the body. They synthesize B vitamins, they synthesize vitamin K. They also support the production of neurotransmitters. And we know that like 40% of the challenges children on the autism spectrum have is neurotransmitter deficiency. That is why if you go to hospital tomorrow, a lot of times they recommend antipsychotic medication. What does the antipsychotic medication? It simply balances dopamine and serotonin levels in their brain. And this is something that probiotics can actually help you to attain in a child. Now, looking at this, we have looked at microbiome balancing. So the third one, we said we are going to look at 4 things. The third thing we are going to look at is this case of gluten. I don't know if I should take it as a general allergy. No, I won't, because I've talked about casein when I was talking about microbiome balancing. Gluten is like almost the most important food nutrient when it comes to management of autism spectrum disorder. Important does not mean important on the good part. Important means significant. Like you don't want to talk about autism without talking about gluten. I would first start with the challenges that parents tend to voice out. A lot of parents used to, okay, let me explain what it is first. Gluten is the protein content of wheat. Wheat is the flour, is a kind of grain that is used versatilely, like like it is like most versatilely used grain. We use it to make bread, we use it to make beer, we use it to make malt, we use it to make cake, we use it to make, when you eat what's this, hot dog. Yes, wheat, they use wheat to mix hot dog to give it the shape. We use it to make all baked products. They use it to make noodles. They use it to make pasta. They use it to make everything, almost everything under the sun. They also add it in as ingredients in a lot of spices. A lot of food condiments have gluten as a binding or some form of agent in them. Sometimes they don't even come as just wheat. Sometimes they have other fancy, beautiful names. So having said what it is, we will talk about how important it is. Gluten is one nutrient that does a lot of harm to the body. Even you and I, even if we are not careful, the modern type of wheat can be harming us without we knowing it. A lot of people who have this very strong allergy reaction to wheat are people we know to be suffering from celiac disease. It is a form of disease itself. And celiac disease is so bad that it can even prevent nutrient absorption. Not just celiac, there is also non-celiac gluten allergy, which is what most of our children usually have. So gluten is so bad that it can prevent your body from taking up other nutrients. And that is why it is advised that even if you're a mother who is pregnant, autism or not, you should not be dwelling too much on baked products and gluten-containing products. Gluten can prevent nutrient absorption and can lead to actual physical retardation in children. A statistics came out about last month that the average child in the UK is smaller than the child considered globally. In the global statistics, the average child in UK is smaller. And if you look at the diet in UK, it's like 80% wheat. Everything has wheat. So what we do not know, we don't know if wheat is part of the problem, but these are just things you could use to kind of connect dots. So gluten, to an average person, it could cause nutrient malabsorption.
Go and sit down.
Please, Mrs. Margaret, please can you mute your... Yeah, thank you. So gluten, apart from what it does on nutrients utilization, to children on the autism spectrum, to all of us, there is an enzyme known as DP4 enzyme. The DP4 enzyme is the specific enzyme that is used for the breakdown of gluten. What has happened is that between the 80s and the 2000s, what we call genetic modification has made farmers and scientists to modify the gene of the wheat such that if you were using a cup of wheat to produce 1 loaf of bread, today you can use that 1 cup of wheat to produce 2 loaves of bread. That is what we call crop optimization. But why is this? Because there is a particular protein. This particular protein called gluten is 2 parts. The names are glutenin and gliadin. So glutenin and gliadin are responsible for creating an elastic band that traps in air. That air is the CO2 that is produced by yeast. By yeast, when yeast are fermenting starch, they produce that CO2. So when the CO2 comes out, when you now apply kneading and moisture on the wheat, it creates that elastic. So that elastic covers the bread and traps in the CO2. So when the CO2 is trapped in, that is when you see that your loaf is very big and you are saying, wow, this loaf is well formed. See how fluffy it is. Yes, It is the gluten that has trapped in the air so that you see that loaf. So that glutenin and gliadin are made to be stronger such that they do not reach their elastic limit easily. That is why you can now use 1 cup to produce 2 loaves instead of using 1 cup to produce 1 loaf. So what is happening is that the DP4 enzymes that individuals have are no longer able to break down the elastic glutenin and gliadin. And when they are not broken down, they go into the brain. And that is when they now cause this effect again, which is the opioid effect. The opioid effect may not come to an adult like it happens to children. What might happen to you is that you might get to work in the morning, even after having a good night's sleep, you realize that you're not just yourself. You're just feeling sleepy, feeling drowsy. For those that like coffee, they just go make a cup of coffee. For those that do not like coffee, you're just like dragging yourself around. What is happening to you is that your brain is having a sensation of that opioid effect of maybe the 2 slices of toast you had before coming to work. But for children, it's a different thing, especially for children on the spectrum. When it comes to children on the spectrum, it's like they are out of their skin. They go haywire. It becomes very, they get very hyperactive, very aloof. You are calling a child, they don't even know they are the one you're calling. Now, what happens is that a lot of parents want to believe that I even removed the gluten, I wasn't even seeing any effect. That was why I took time to explain the different places you can find gluten. So sometimes I hear my parents saying, we are on gluten-free diet, but it's just once in a while you will eat spaghetti. Yes, once in a while. If you stop eating gluten today, it takes gluten 6 good months to leave your body. 6 months before it can leave your body. And when you now introduce another in between, it comes back. But there is hope in all of this. The hope is that if you are able to help your child to restore their gut integrity, they can actually break these things down better. Again, I'll go back to my story. I left my family for 2 years to go and study in Belgium. So each time I called them, that time it was Skype. Skype was what was in vogue. Each time I call them on Skype, I see my daughter running everywhere. She can't even speak to me. She can't even sit. She can't even look on the laptop. Like she's everywhere. What is happening? Hey, everybody, nothing, nothing. I would say, what did she eat? Everybody, nothing. Why are you asking? Is it not the food that you say we should be giving? Before 3 times, somebody's, hey, is it not just 1 biscuit we gave her that time that she ate? And you will see that the reaction is immediate. Some children do not have immediate reaction. There's what we call delayed reaction to allergies. So her reaction then was immediate. Like, I can't miss it. Even from the phone, there was no way I would miss the fact that this girl ate something that has gluten. So when I got back, I embarked on almost a year. We went on gut healing and the Kotler chelation. These are not recommendations, please. These are not recommendations. So right now, my daughter can eat 2 pieces of pizza without any reaction. Why? Because her gut has been healed. Her gut has been healed. So This brings me to the fourth intervention that I would recommend as a nutritionist, which is a general recommendation: gut healing. Gut healing is a process, because I have a lot of clients that when we talk about gut healing, yeah, we'll go and do it. I'm doing it today. And in 2 months, you say, how, when last did you do your bone broth? But I thought as soon as we start the meal plan, there is no need for bone broth. I say, see, bone broth is a lifetime process. It is a lifetime process. And I tell you what, our old mothers were doing this for us. Bone broth is not a big deal, because sometimes when we call the name, it's as if it's something that is not reachable. Bone broth is simply getting gelatin out of bones. Then, in addition to some other nutrients that might be available, we have the sulfur, the magnesium, the calcium, which are like by, addition. But the most important thing we want in bone broth is the gelatin content. In food technology, the legs of animals, their intestines, are not counted as meat. So those of you in the UK, if you think you are not getting this, it is because you have not gone to the right place. You won't see this on the shelf. But if you go to African shops, if you're somewhere maybe in the Belgium, you go to where they call Turkish markets, the Turkish people. That is where you find things like this. But if you're in the UK, you can go to African shops and ask them, you want cow leg. Usually we call it bone, because bone is like the most common thing. If Oyibo is doing research for you, like what they found in their research is you get these things from bones. But we know that we have other things that they may not recognize as food, but we know we have them. So things like cow leg, like things like cow head, these are what we use, because if you look at them, you see that their own pomo is not dry pomo. There is something in between the flesh and the bone, and that thing is what we call the gelatin. So when you are making bone broth, this is your target. Your target is to extract this component, which is the gelatin. And then you add some other herbs that help in stomach restoration, things like celery. You add vegetables like carrot. You add things like ginger. So if you put these things together in a pot, if you Google it today, PPP bone broth, it will tell you to cook it slowly for 24 hours on a slow cook and extract. I am sorry, that is not us. We are autism community. We have our own ways of doing things. You don't cook this more than 3 hours, because when you cook protein beyond a certain times, it produces, beyond a certain period, it produces what we call biogenic amine. And biogenic amine, histamine is a form of biogenic amine. And we know that histamine is an allergic component to the body. So a lot of our anti-allergy medications are actually antihistamines. So we don't overcook our meat because it produces histamine, which every other person can handle, but we cannot handle it. So this bone broth is something you have to incorporate in your child. At the beginning, you are supposed to make it separate and be offering the child every morning and night. But as time goes on, like me now, I don't make it separate anymore, but I buy it, I use it to cook soup, I use it to cook stew, such that each food she's eating, she's getting it in the food. And the whole family.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. So
Wow.
thank you. I hope you got something out of it. Thank you.
A lot. This, oh my goodness. Anyway, before I say anything, I know we don't have much time. There are lots of scientific names she was saying that is very big for us. That's why she needs to come back and break a lot of things down for us.
Okay.
But I believe with everything she was saying, some of us, we're now rethinking a lot of things, especially that bread part. You know, those of us that have more than one children, you just want to make sandwich and send them to school like quick. You understand? So, and then we're having those reactions. So I understand that some of us that are here with special needs children, and even not with special needs children generally, with what she has said, there's a lot to take home. There's a lot to that we have to rethink in our nutrition. So I don't know if there's anybody that have something to say right now. We give you 1 minute, 2 people actually, but this is not something that it's not a one-time thing. Many of us, we are more into the layman language, but this is quite interesting because even me, I'm just putting my notes down like, my God, I have been doing it all wrong. Sorry, I don't have my camera on. So why am I saying that this is her field. And if you think what she has said resonates with you, she can give you a one-on-one consultation. She mentors families, like family together. She mentors you as the parents. So if there is more that you want to know, like what she's saying makes sense. Like me, I'm going to consult her on those things because I look for the easy way out most of the time. You understand? Not that what she's saying is complicated. It's just that when you don't know, you don't know. And there is a saying that when you know what you don't know, that's fine. But now that you know, you do better. So what am I saying here? If there's any question in your heart and you're like, this thing resonates with me, but surely I don't get it all. I want it to be broken down more so that I have a better understanding of this. So get in touch. And she's going to come back to us. We are going to be attending her program as well. It's not just about children in the spectrum. Like we have discussed, many of us are even in the spectrum, we don't know because it's not something that is, it has a particular face. You understand? Sometimes there are things that gave us allergy, but we don't know about it. And it's very important because many things would have been avoided, many of these ailments, many of this medication, if we eat right, if we eat the right foods. So I want to ask if there's anyone that, as she was speaking, something, it resonates something in you, because we want the people that are here to let us know what has this meant to you, this knowledge she has poured. She has poured, giving us for about 45 minutes. She has just explained a lot. And I know that she has much more. But I also understand that if we really want to get it better, we need to get to reach out to her as well. I don't want to be the only one talking. Okay. Probably now it is a lot that we have taken in. We need time to process. We are going to be putting out more information there. But if you need more, you want to have one-on-one consultation, or maybe there's something else, any question, please contact me. I will put you in contact with her. And I will also share her program that she will be doing with us. She's going to be having her own program where she mentors people on nutrition. She works with family, probably any family that is having these challenges. She can be able to work with you and to a particular time, maybe 3 months, 6 months, and you will see the difference. So we are not just saying goodbye to her. Actually, is a welcome to our midst. We are having her to be able to help us, even if we don't have children in spectrum, we also have people around us. But we also, everybody needs good nutrition. Every one of us. We need to retrain, unlearn, and relearn, And I believe that the more we go, the better we do at things. The more we learn, the better we do it. So finalize this autism awareness month. Many of us understand what we're talking about. Many till now don't exactly know what autism is. So we need to have knowledge of what it is and why it is important as a community to have this knowledge, because we misjudge people and we maltreat people out of ignorance. People in the spectrum, they are not weird. They are not stupid. They understand, even those that are non-verbal, they understand everything. Maya Angelou says, I might not remember what you said to me. Sometimes I might not even remember what you did to me, but I will always remember how you make me feel.
Yeah.
So sometimes our body language have a lot to do. How we see some people, we are all sensitive beings, but this set of people, they read you like book, an open book. So maybe you think that maybe because they don't say or they don't speak or they have selective mutism, maybe they don't understand you. They understand because they are very observant. So let us work on our behavior, and also let us use this to also look into ourselves. Autism, they say, is a spectrum disorder. The mental is caused by differences in the brain. People in the spectrum often have problem social communication and interaction, and restricted or repetitive behaviors or interests. People that are in the spectrum, some of them are hypertension. They very really most of the brilliant people in the world are autistic. Surprise, Joe was autistic. So are other great men and women that are inventors. But they always have these challenges to have a social relationship. It's different for them, some of them not all. And the behavior, like our professional was telling us, can look very weird to us. Why? Because there's a difference. There are some secretions, some chemicals in the brain that means that's not working the way it should work. And then you do their own differently, but doesn't mean that they are normal. Norm is safe. We are all in the thing is maybe majority behave one way, the others. And then because this is a spectrum, many people, some have it more than others. Some inclusive have other health challenges, including some have learning disabilities. But in the midst of it all, what we are trying to bring awareness to us, we are all human. The humanity in us means that is what will make us respect every individual, irrespective of the situation. That would help be inclusive. That would help us. You hear about our speaker today. She had it in her own chat and she out of her way and made research. Now, through that same challenge, she had learned much more about it. And now she's now helping other parents to manage the situation better. So when we don't know, let us get knowledge, let us get understanding, but above all, let us have a compassionate heart. We cannot speak of love when we don't have the capacity to embrace others, even in their difference. So I encourage us that as we continue to learn on this platform, let's make room, make allowances for everyone and help to understand so that we can be inclusive, give people room to help in what God has built them, be instead of condemning them in the area of their weaknesses. And thank you all for being with us all this through this month. Thank you for always coming along whenever there is something for us to talk about. It's not is powerful. It's rid us of ignorance. Because ignorance can be a bliss, but it's dangerous, costly. It's costly. But when we have the knowledge, it breaks barriers and it builds strong bridges that bring us together as a community. Thank you once again, Ijoma.
Thank you.
We are grateful that you are part of us now, and we are very, very grateful for that wealth of knowledge and wealth of wisdom. We are going to tap in from it every now and then. And I'm sure many of us will reach out to you personally because we need what you have to be able to help us in our journey, to make it easier, that support our young ones, to make them be able to excel in their own chosen path. Thank you so much. And looking forward to host you soon again. Thank you, everyone. Please, if sorry, are you still there? Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay. So please, if there's any question, reach out to me. And those of you that are joining us for the first time, thank you, thank you. Those of you that's joining us from, this is SS Oasis. Our main work in the community is supporting, reaching out to families that have children with challenges, circumstances, especially those in the spectrum, mental health, and all others. We help, we walk the journey with you, we support you. What we don't know, we signpost you. We don't have everything, but we work with professionals. Thank you. Okay, so we are going to put on the I will leave it on for some time. So our email is, if you want to get in contact with us. And our phone number.
Thank you, Lady E.
So we have room for volunteering. We have, if you are a professional, maybe you're a psychologist, you're any area you think you can offer your support to families, please let us know. And we work with all or every family. And probably you don't have any profession, but you are a great encourager. You have the right words to say, or you are a lover of children who would like to work with you. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful weekend, everyone. We'll meet again soon. I will send out information, and if you need anything, you have our information as well. Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you,
everyone.
Adesua.
Bye.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Yeah. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. It was nice
Thank
you so much.
Thank you, the organizers. Thank you very much. It was good.
Thank you.